you. Welcome to the Board of Elections and Registration Board meeting. It is 5 o'clock p.m. May I have a motion to start the meeting or approval of the agenda? I'm sorry.
So moved. This
Second.
Bob, so moved.
Okay,
Second.
it's properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. And before we start the agenda, just as a reminder, please mute yourselves if you're not talking. So with that, we'll go into citizen comment if there's any.
Madam Chair, we had no citizens turn in any citizen comments or requests to speak at this meeting.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kidd. Next, the approval of minutes for May 12th, board meeting, May 18th, special hearing, and May 31st certification meeting that we had. I have a motion to approve those three.
I'll make a motion that we approve all three of those meeting minutes.
I'll second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Not seeing any nays, the minutes are passed. Next, felon hearings.
The felon report was transmitted to the county on yesterday. Letters will be disseminated to the affected voters, and we will be able to report on this during the next scheduled board meeting.
Thank you for that report. Any questions? Thank you. Next is office operations report.
Office operations report, I will start it at this particular time. Despite some issues that were beyond the control of our department, I want to thank all of the election staff, the area managers, the poll managers, poll workers, the board, and the citizens of Douglas County and everyone else for their dedicated efforts to ensure that Douglas County voters have access to the ballot box. After each election, our office meets for a post-election recap in order to identify issues that need to be addressed as part of the elections process. One of the issues that came up was access to the courthouse and our office. The courthouse now has a single entry point to the building at the front door. The sheriff department has made accommodations with our office to allow poll workers to load and unload through the courthouse dock in order to not have to come through the front door. However, this presents challenges because we cannot control the flow of movement through the dock. So on next week, we have a meeting with the sheriff department to discuss alternatives, particularly different ways to allow us to possibly use the Truth or the Liberty entrance side of the courthouse for the loading and unloading to help illustrate some of the issues that go into what we call pack out, which is just the transmission of our election supplies by the poll workers. Ms. Green has prepared a short PowerPoint presentation. You're now in the hands of Ms. Green.
Hello, let's see if I can share my screen here. All right, can you all see my? You do? Okay. So this just is a little bit of talk, showing what we do to prepare like for an election with checking out and returns. This next slide show here, this is our pack out list. I don't know if you all can really see it, but these are all the things on this list is what our area managers look at to make sure that it's going out to the poll managers. So when the poll managers get here for pickup, they have to go through these next series of checkout lists. So like for our provisional bag, they have to actually go through the orange provisional bags and make sure that all of these items listed here is there and present and check off on that. We supply them with PPE equipment. So these are some of the things like wipes, alcohol, swab, paper towels, disposable masks, gloves, sanitizer, things like that. They have to check that bag to make sure they're getting these supplies. Then we also have a supply checkout that they have to sign off on, which is pretty much saying that they're getting their expandable file that has all of their paperwork. If the facility has keys, they collecting the keys and cell phone boosters, all of their provisional bag boxes, supplies. They power strips, anything that they need. They sign off on that. This is their supply box. They actually have to go through the supply box. The next one is the manager's supply box and make sure that they have pencils, pencil sharpeners, ink pens, highlighters, all that stuff that's here. They check the boxes and sign off on. And recap sheets here, these are all the recap sheets that they have to make sure not only that they have, but these are ones that they have to make sure they sign at the end of the night and get back to us. In the chain of custody form for transfer of election results, this is a form too. This is one of many forms that they have to sign off on at the end of the night. Our next slideshow here is just a list. So we have task lists for closing the polls, pretty much like announcing the polls are closed at 7, and all the things they have to run through at the end of the night. We actually assign tasks to different poll workers over the next couple of sheets, and they're checking off and making sure everything's back in the boxes or taking up the signs or things like that. And so in this again, is we designate 2 poll workers to take these items to the loading dock and turn them in to the designated receiving polling officer. The poll workers will return to the precinct and help, and will leave when the manager dismisses them. But the managers are to pull in at the loading dock, and the workers on the dock ask them for all of these items, like the electors list, the poll worker binder, the manuals, supply boxes, form boxes, etc., PPE bags, poll pads. And so, again, this is more stuff that they have to turn in, make sure their expandable file with all of their paperwork is in it. Their poll worker cards, the ballot cards, scanner keys. And then at the end of the day, once we sort out all their forms, these are all the forms that managers are responsible for filling out and signing and getting back to us at the end of the night on election night. So as you can see, this is a lot of paperwork. So they have, I counted about 16 forms that they actually have to go through at the end of the night after the election closed and turn into our office. And so I just wanted to just show you all some of the things that they're working on, things that we do, things they have to pick up, and things that they're responsible for out the precinct. And that's it.
Thank you for sharing that process with us.
If you can stop sharing yours. Okay, the next part of the office operations report will be from Mr. Filbert Smith.
Okay. This election also highlighted significant other issues. We reserved rental trucks to deliver election day equipment to the precincts. We were informed that there is a shortage of available box trucks for rent. It was seen that some people are renting them and keeping them as storage units. This option is chosen in lieu of paying higher costs for a storage unit. To be clear, we reserve rental trucks 6 months in advance of an election and check on them every month leading up to the delivery date. This time, every rental company told us a similar narrative that I just stated. We were able to finally secure 4 smaller trucks and spread out our delivery dates to accommodate the election equipment. Even today, a rental company would not firmly confirm our reservation. Truck rental, finding employees that are certified to drive trucks, and storage allocation were major issues that we have identified that require attention for future elections.
To touch on what Filbert just stated too, though, even rental companies, Penske informed us during the last election cycle that they no longer wish to rent trucks to our department because of the current political climate, and they're concerned about the possible political attacks on their trucks. So in response to these type of statements, we began having conversations with the county, asking them or telling them about our need for the county to look into possibly securing a couple of box trucks that the county owns, because we do anticipate this delivering of equipment to be an ongoing issue if the current climate continues. Mr. Unvala has the next part. Malcolm.
May I ask Phil a question? This is Bob. May I ask Phil a question?
Yeah, he's still on. Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. These don't require CDLs, do they? These
No, they
drivers?
do not.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Okay.
No, they don't actually require CDL. The reason why we were seeking CDLs is just because people with CDLs are familiar with driving large vehicles, and there have been incidences in the past of individuals hitting things driving large trucks. So we're trying to cover all bases.
I have one question to Director Kidd. I know Mr. Smith mentioned storage for the election equipment. Was that for storage at some of the facilities that you had to deliver to early in order to meet the requirements?
The storage piece that Philbert was going into is not actually us. We delivered to, at this point, 30 different locations between advanced voting and election day, but people were renting the box truck, a 26-foot box truck, which is why there is a shortage of availability of box trucks in all of Metro Atlanta. From here to Jonesboro and beyond, we have tried to secure trucks. One of the things that the companies are telling us is that their fleet is out because people are using the box trucks as storage devices. We ran into this at first too, though, because we had a storage unit that tripled in price.
Mm-hmm.
But we were able to find a smaller warehouse and secure that. But because the price of storage units has tripled and doubled, people have used the box trucks as a cheaper alternative.
Gotcha.
Before Matt proceed, I have a question. So I know you all reserved the truck 6 months in advance, but do you also reserve them for a possible runoff as well? Because we know we have that coming up. So was that taken into consideration?
We don't know that a runoff is going to happen, but in this particular case with the runoff, we've been in communication with the branch managers at some of the locations and informed them when we saw the ballot for the May election that we've been anticipating a runoff just by the number of people that were in races. So we had already begun to have those conversations with the Enterprise, I believe, is the one that we're probably going to end up getting trucks from this time.
Thank you for that. Any additional questions before Malcolm starts?
Yes, I have a question for Director Kidd. Will you guys consider, or have you considered private entities to help with the delivery of the equipment?
We have used in the past moving companies. That's what you mean by private entities?
Yes.
The only thing about the moving companies that we ran into as a major issue is a lot of times the staffing at the moving company, although the company itself is licensed and bonded, they tend to just get staff that is not permanent staff, that does not take into consideration the sensitivity of moving the type of equipment that we have, which is why we initially pulled this to an in-house situation before, when we had a moving company that almost knocked over our equipment. So that lack of control is the only reason, like 2 men in a truck and things like that are hard to bring into this type of situation. But that is an alternative as well, because we know that the election is going to happen on specific dates and we have to get this equipment out.
Well, who would somebody contact if they wanted to, put a bid in?
They can reach out to our main office. The office number is listed on our website. If they go to celebratedouglascounty.com and under the elections office, you'll see our main number, and we can put them in contact, because in order for a third party to initially be used by our department, we have to get them in contact with finance to become a vendor for the county, and we can walk a company through that process as well if they reach out to us.
Gotcha. Thank you.
All great questions. So Malcolm, it's yours.
Another issue we ran into was some of our polling places notifying us at the last minute of location changes as far as where in the building voting would take place. One such location was Lithia Springs High School. The school had a graduation ceremony that was moved to the main gymnasium, which is where voting was planned to take place, and the poll workers and equipment were relocated to a different room. This caused that location to require more signage to inform the public of, I don't know if you're familiar with that high school, but there's very many points of entry, and this one required a different one. This combined with the tendency for signs to disappear the night before the election. Going forward, we're going to be paying a lot more attention to signage at polling places and ensuring that they're properly marked.
Awesome. Thank you. Any questions for Malcolm?
Do we have a good supply of signs? Since you said they're disappearing.
We do have a good supply of signs, but he used a gentle term with the disappearing. People steal our election signs. We have had whole precincts that they've stolen every sign. So like Malcolm was indicating, we are working with our poll managers to come up with a schedule to make sure throughout the day that they are sending their staff out to check signage, as well as our area managers will have extra signage that ride around to the precincts as well, so that we can adjust that coverage if need be on the fly.
Okay, thanks. I was able to translate Malcolm's verbiage there. So, okay, thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Malcolm. Director Kidd, anyone else?
That concludes our office operations report at this time. The next piece will be election recap, and now it's back to Malcolm.
Okay.
So I'm going to share a quick and dirty spreadsheet. Let's see. Are you guys seeing that?
Not yet.
Yes. Well, I can see it.
Yes. Yes.
So I think it's most fair to compare like to like. We've got numbers from two elections, 2018's and 2022's, the two primaries. On the screen, we've got registered voters and the growth at the bottom. So if you look at this, obviously I used some shortenings, but ABM would be absentee by mail, ED would be election day, AV advance in person. And despite the population growth only being 12%, right? You've got a 76% increase in votes cast. How their voting has increased from absentee by mail to advanced voting is the big ones. But at the end of the day, that was a turnout of 26% over a quarter, when the previous election was not even a fifth. So that's about it, unless anybody has some questions about this, what they're seeing.
This is great information and eye-opening, of the turnout just been 26% in this primary. Any questions for Malcolm? Okay, so hearing none. Anything else in this area? Director?
That concludes all of our office operation report and election recap at this time.
Great, thank you all, and I appreciate all the hard work you did for the primary election and now gearing up for the runoff election that is coming up. And so the runoff election is June 21st, but we know early votes start June 13th through the 17th. So please go to the website for additional information. Director Kidd, anything you want to share around early voting?
Okay. We have no old business, so I'll switch to new business. And
Yeah.
We're going to go this one. Under new business, once again, advanced voting begins on Monday, June the 13th at 8:30 a.m. and it's going to conclude at 6 p.m. We will have advanced voting at 4 locations. We will have it at the Dog River Library, Deer Lick Park Recreation Center, the Douglas County Courthouse, and Woody Fight Senior Center. Tomorrow is the last day, that is June the 10th is the last day to submit an absentee by mail application for this runoff election. The next piece will be Ms. Bowen.
So for the runoff, we have mailed 444 ballots.
This concludes new business at this time if there are no questions.
Okay. Any questions?
Is
So-
there any Saturday voting for the early voting?
There is no Saturday date for this runoff
For
election.
the runoff, yeah, okay, thank you.
Great. All right, so any board member concerns at this time? Okay, so hearing none, our next regular board meeting is Thursday, July 14th at 5:00 p.m. I will see you here virtually. With that, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
It's been properly, we are adjourned. It is 5:22 p.m. Have a great evening and a good weekend.